What's up, Zeal Brothers? Back with you. Hey, just want to make another video, this time about Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is in trouble with the media. I won't say he's in trouble with the general public, but he's in trouble with the media because he's made jokes on his last special about trans people. And he said in his video that gender is a fact. And the truth of the matter is that everybody who was born had to pass between the legs of a woman. Well, let's just look and see where this outrage is coming from. Because let's talk about outrage. Because I feel like our corporations and a lot of our companies get outrage wrong. Just because the media is outraged doesn't mean that people are outraged. In other words, the media is a very small subset of the large population. And while they may have big voices, they don't necessarily have a lot of persuasive power. So when somebody hears that joke, most people are not offended. Now, some trans people might be offended, but let's just talk about them a little bit later. But when companies do this, and you find them doing this in a lot of different areas, companies that I work for does this a lot. What they'll do is they will cater to what they think is the general media sentiment, not realizing that they're angering a big majority of their own employees. Companies do this all the time. And sports teams do this all the time, right? They'll cater to a left-wing idea, not realizing that since most men are majority of sports watchers, right? So if you look at their audience, it's going to be majority male. And most male tend to have more traditional views on gender and sex. That when you are catering to a left-wing idea, you're basically catering to an idea that grosses out most men. But they don't care because they want to suck up to the media. And the truth of the matter is the media is not making you money, right? The media might get a lot of attention and you might have to answer to the media if you go to a press conference, but the average man doesn't care about the media, doesn't trust the media. They may get some information from the media, but the media doesn't control them. Distrust in the media is at an all-time high. So people who buy into media outrage, you got to just take that with a grain of salt, right? So let's just talk about that first. Let's just put that outrage in quotations, right? So outrage about Dave Chappelle's comments. Let's also look at the content of what he said. Was what he said true? It was, right? Think about this. The idea that in this era we are confused about whether a man could be a woman or a woman could be a man is probably one of the lowest signs of our rationality that we have, right? Right next to the idea that two men could be married. But the truth of the matter is that when you look at this trans movement, it's a movement that is lacking rationality. Now, I will tell you straight up, right? While I think that is morally wrong, if you are a grown man and you want to do some operation to make you look like a woman, I don't agree with it. I wouldn't do it, but I don't really care what you do, right? And in a free society, people should be able to do stuff that even though I think is disturbing, they can do it. That's just what a free society should be. But I should also be free to voice my opinions on it. Here's the truth of the matter is that when you look at a joke that somebody makes, oftentimes our comedians are ones who have social commentary that's the clearest. And let's just think about it in this sense. For something to be funny, there has to be a large part of truth to it. You can't make fun of a skinny man and call him fat. It will not be funny. But if you make fun of a fat person for being fat, it will be funny, right? You make fun of an ugly person for being ugly, it will be funny. So you have to point out something that is true to be funny. And the fact that a comedian is targeting this area means in many ways it's something that we shy away from, right? So we don't want to talk about it. And shock produces comedic effect, right? So something that people don't want to talk about is something that a comedian will want to talk about, right? So let's just talk about it in that sense. But then also you have this part where what they're saying is true. We recognize it as true. For a joke to be funny, it has to be something that everybody in their gut think, yeah, he right about that, right? And you laugh. And you laugh because it's so dang true, right? It shouldn't even be offensive. Why is it offensive to anybody? It's offensive because the ramifications of that truth go against the ideas of the trans movement, right? So the trans movement is trying to say that there really a man can become a woman. Now, that it doesn't follow, right? There's not a thing. I mean, look at our DNA, look at our chromosomes, right? The X won't become a Y no matter what you do, right? And that is what defines a man and a woman. Ultimately, there are characteristics that are male and there are characteristics that are female. And we have looked at this and we've accepted this idea so much so that we have appliances and we'll say, here's the male end and here's the female end. And we don't mean anything sexual about it. But when you think about it, it is kind of a crude way to think about it, right? Here I got an electrical outlet. Here's the female end. Here's the male end. Just plug it in, right? And nobody's supposed to think nothing about it. But the truth of the matter is that we accepted that because we knew that it was indisputable fact that a male will do one thing and a female will do another. It was just indisputable, right? It shouldn't be something that we even have to debate, but it's sad that we've gotten to this point. So hey, for those who are offended, ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to silence one part of the debate so that you could have the floor all to yourselves. Ultimately, what you want is a dictatorship of ideas. You want to rule and you want everybody else to be quiet. And you might succeed in the end. I can't lie. You guys are winning. The silencers are winning. But you're not going to change many of us. There's a lot of men like myself, a lot of men like Zeal Brothers who are going to be out there and we're going to speak the truth. And we're not going to stop just because you try to intimidate us or shut us down. So Dave Chappelle, I commend Dave Chappelle for keep speaking the truth as he sees it. And I encourage all you men, keep speaking the truth. If it offends somebody, it offends them. Just let the chips fall where they may.